Hey guys, welcome to Sunrise Extra on a Tuesday. We are talking about a little tweet that has gone viral now out of Lake Oswego. When I logged into my computer this morning, I sit down, I kind of check.
Whoa.
Hey, I know, Director Brian's trying to get my monitor up here. I look at Twitter and I saw Lake Oswego on the side under trending, and then it said trending in the United States.
Whoa.
And I'm like, whoa, what's going on with Lake Oswego? So I click on it and up pops this tweet from a woman whose Twitter handle is called Pivyak or Divya. We don't know what her real name is. She says, my younger sister painted a sign on the front window of our house to show our support of the Black Lives Matter movement. And they were sent this in the mail from one of the neighbors. 100% on brand for Lake Oswego. Now we have some photos of a letter that this family says was sent to them by an anonymous neighbor. And it says, we, your neighbors, appreciate, I can't read it off that, so I have to pull it up here. We, your neighbors, appreciate you have a strong political and social justice viewpoint. We wish to communicate that to others via your window sign. The First Amendment gives you that right. We believe that you've made your point. As tensions rise in our city, home is the safe and quiet place we wanted to return to after being at work. We want to come home to a beautiful street where neighbors care and support one another. We have 3 homes on our street that are trying to sell for the best price possible. Your sign is driving down interest to live on this street, hence our property values suffer, including yours. We feel you've made your statement and respectfully request you remove it and save your political viewpoint for inside your home. Homes are not made to be billboards for our opinions. They are a place for families to rest, enjoy life, and feel safe. Thank you in advance for caring enough about the people you live side by side, especially with different viewpoints, by removing your sign. So at this point on Twitter, it has now been liked, her tweet, 18,000 times, 5,000 and change in retweets. And we posted this on the KGW Facebook page this morning, and we're getting a lot of comments on it. Tara Graham saying, I would add 100 more signs. My house is to do what I want with. Laura Martin says, white privilege at its finest in LO. If you leave a leaf in the yard, the property value goes down. Lisa says, I'd be buying a bigger sign for my front yard. Let's see, Randy says, I would say it depends on how many other neighbors are also showing political slogans in their windows. So, what do you guys think? Let us know.
I am moving off the Twitter page to go to our live KGW Facebook stream right now as people are chiming in. We have hundreds of you watching right now live. I'm sure many of you will see this later on today, but thank you if you are watching us right now here in the early morning. We start with Deb Barnes. Good morning, Deb Barnes. Thanks for watching. She says, what is wrong with these people? Please stop proving that Oregon is an epicenter of white privilege. Again, that's Deb Barnes chiming in this morning on our live Facebook stream. We have others chiming in as well.
Wayne Evans says,
yep.
I'd add a couple Biden signs. Let's see. And then Jennifer Taft says, let her know. I would love to come help her paint some signs. Rude. Yeah. Dion says, just rude.
I mean,
Courtney Cox, not that Courtney Cox, the Courtney Cox that watches our show every morning.
What's up, Courtney?
What's up, Courtney Cox? Thank you for watching. Says gross, big thumbs down on this Tuesday morning. But you'll get comments of all kinds. Completely other side of the fence comments. We share them all here on Sunrise Extra. Brian Daniel says good with 2 exclamation points. BLM is a terrorist group in the words of Brian Daniels. I'm offended by everything about them. Enough, says Brian Daniels. So feel free to chime in about that comment that we're reading out loud this morning on Sunrise Extra.
Oh, it was a very civil letter. You know, it sounded on the surface very placid and, you know, respectful.
Right.
But it just gave me a little bit of a chill. You know, when you kind of hear something that just makes you feel a little icky. That's my takeaway from that.
It's just, the fact that you go to your computer, you sit down, you type that out, you print it, and you walk it down the street and you put it in a mailbox or wherever it was left. And we don't know who did this, you know. I mean, she says that this was somehow left at their home, so we'll see.
It only takes one person, though, right? I mean, one person writes the letter. It could be, you could put together 100 neighbors from that area, and 99 of them could feel that that sign is appropriate and quite fine to be in the window. It only takes one to write that letter, to get it in their face, and to create now this story. And but one is enough. I mean, one is too many. We all come from different backgrounds. I grew up on the other side of the country, and I remember growing up, it was honestly almost ingrained in my head that if a black person was to move into the neighborhood, it was time to move because the value of the homes were going to go down. I mean, that was sort of what we were, I don't want to say taught, but it wasn't even from parents. I would hear that from other kids in the neighborhood. Now, where are they hearing that? I don't know. I'm going back to 1985 at this point.
Yeah.
I do feel like when I moved here, I didn't hear that kind of talk as much, but the fact of the matter is, I don't live around as many people of color as I did when I was growing up in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Right, but that is the type of thing where, you're asking where it comes from. White flight is ingrained in the United States of America, right? It's not even like with institutional racism that we're truly thinking our thoughts. We're thinking society's thoughts. And that happened, and that did get passed down generation after generation.
And sadly, I didn't even think necessarily it was wrong. Like, I didn't think like, yeah, that's right, we got to get out of here. It was almost like, that's too bad about the property values of the home. Like, it was like the thinking as a 10-year-old was way out of whack. And it just, you have to sort of educate yourself, I guess, over the years to get into the right frame of mind and the right way of thinking. This sounds like something I would have heard back then, 30 years ago, in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. But people on our Sunrise Extra live stream right now on Facebook are saying that they're not surprised by this kind of thing happening necessarily in Lake Oswego. And I quote Jennifer Taft. Oh, Jennifer, where did your comment go? I had it earlier pulled up here in our live stream. I will look for it again. Sometimes when the stream is this heavily populated as it is this morning, we lose some of the comments. Oh, here it is.
Okay.
Jennifer Taft says, are you aware, she says Nina, but talking to all of us, are you aware of Lake Oswego's very complicated race history? Jennifer Taft, again, our viewer, watching us live this morning, says, when I moved here in 1995, I was working in Lake O, and coworkers would refer to the only people who lived here were either white or black people who played for the Trailblazers. She also refers to the Lake No Negro comment that I heard when I moved here in 2000. Sorry, but for many years, Lake Oswego actually had a reputation and was on the books about not selling to people in minority classes.
And Mindy Wolf Laframboise, Drew, that's the last name that you love to say. She was commenting on what I said, and she said it's a passive-aggressive letter. That's what that gross feel is when you read it.
It is, yeah.
Prince Schumann says, as a longtime Lake Oswego resident, I'm embarrassed this morning. Thought free speech was our right. Keep making your signs, says Prince.
It's your property, it's your house.
Don't let ignorant people stop you, he says.
Unless, it is a violation of like, what are the things called? HOAs, which is, like your bushes need to be trimmed or something. It's not like, social justice signs or something like that. It is private property. And I seriously, I just can't even imagine how you could say, oh, you're driving our property values down with a message in a window like that, It's just unbelievable. So, yeah, I wonder what's going to happen today. We've put in, we've responded to her, and we're trying to see if we can get an interview with that family today.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Do we know anything about them? Are they white? Are they black? Are they...
They are of color somehow, just based on her, and she even says, the girl who wrote the post, that they are one of the very few people of color that live in the neighborhood. And that she was just, sickened that people are placing property value over black lives.
I've been so encouraged by some of the little towns and the neighborhoods in places where you wouldn't really expect that people have come out and are supporting basically human rights, racial equity. So to see something like that, it is disappointing.
Yeah.
But I have to look at so many of the other unexpected things that I never thought I'd see. Remember, in Southern Oregon, another place where stereotypically you think, oh, well, it might be a little, and you saw protests down there and peaceful.
And Hermiston out in Eastern Oregon,
Here's a couple of viewer comments that maybe Nina, Brenda, you'd like to weigh in on, get your thoughts on this. I believe it's Renica Reneca, Renica Lee, good morning to you. She says, if you have a problem, she puts that in quotes, if you have a problem with a neighbor, how about just going to talk to them instead of going to social media? Get to know them maybe. Don't write the anonymous letter. So we can get your thoughts on that.
It's so true.
How about Mark Suda? Mark Suda says he sees this both ways. Free speech in both directions. The sign and the letter. Don't they both deserve free speech?
It is. I mean, obviously, like, you know, it's not a crime to send this letter. It's just you're a jerk. I mean, you're more than a jerk. It's
that it's anonymous is the problem.
Anonymous.
Too.
It's
if
rude,
that's really how you feel,
bordering on. I mean, just like outrageousness and racism. You know. I mean, come on. Let people have a message. You know, stand up for something on their own darn property.
Yeah, Darren replies to Mark. Mark made the comment about, isn't it free speech on both sides, the sign and the letter? We have a viewer named Darren who replies directly to Mark saying, hey, Mark, how about talking to them? Again, not the anonymous way to do it. How about going talk to them face to face?
Yeah, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, ask them, hey, why do you have that sign in your window? Talk to me about it. And then, you know, after they tell you why, if you still have a problem with it and you need to express that, go for it. But
Jenny's daring us to say she supports all lives matter. And you know what? I mean, this is so stupid that we have to keep, you know, like explaining this. But somebody said it in such a excellent way of like, if you're with your husband or your partner or whatever and you say, oh, honey, I love you. And they say back to you, I love everyone. And be like, yeah, but like,
talking about
do you
us.
love me? No, I love everyone.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a slight on anyone else. It's just saying, hey, let's focus on this group. You know, let's love you too. So yes, we brought it up.
Did you read Rhonda's comment, Drew? I'm sorry if you already did. She says BLM is a movement. I hope it keeps getting the attention it needs. I am married 30 years to a brown man, born and raised in Ohio. I have seen more racism here in Southern Oregon than ever growing up in Ohio. And then she's got a couple emojis like, oh no.
I wonder what's going to happen though. With this, you know, like maybe they have a neighborhood meeting, maybe, I don't know, maybe more signs go up on these folks' house. Let's see.
It really is a thing. So I lived when I was going to grad school and working briefly in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I traveled around there occasionally and I would see the Confederate flag. And nobody ever did anything to me or even really said a ton. But there is something that just kind of strikes you as a person of color where I felt unsafe. Yeah. That symbolism means something very, very negative to me. Yeah. And I feel like I would feel the same way if my neighborhood sent that letter. I would be looking around going, wow, who really doesn't like us? Yeah. And perhaps that's not what they meant, but I think that's the way I would feel if I lived in that house.
On Twitter, Janie Cuddy says, I'm a school psychologist in the Ello School District and live there, and I am so disappointed with this. Someone else says, as a person of color, I fear driving through Lake Oswego. Maybe it's time for Black Lives Matter protests to show up in Lake Oswego. And then Hoga Boom says, we are better than this.
There is a conversation happening this morning. We thank you for joining that conversation and really the conversation happening between viewers right now on the Facebook live stream that I'm looking at least. We heard earlier from a viewer named Mark who thought that this was a case of free speech in both directions. Both the sign in the window and the letter that was written are both instances of people just expressing their free speech. But Jennifer replies to Mark saying one is proudly standing up for what they believe in and what is right. The other is being a coward about it by doing it anonymously. We've kind of hammered that point home here this morning.
An anonymous letter should be ignored, says Wendy, into the trash. If you can't sign your name, to your convictions.
Tammy suggests that if you have an HOA, there are some rules and restrictions in the neighborhoods that are standard. Those include signs in windows, flags outside your door, political advertising, etc., etc. We don't know if this is a case of that. I don't think in this case it necessarily matters. That's not the point of the story, and that's not what the letter said at all anyways, right? The letter said, hey, this is against the rules of our neighborhood. You have to take that down. The letter went much further than that.
Yeah. Catherine Lamoureux calling us out saying we're being one-sided in favor of the left. People have invested their life savings in homes in that neighborhood. They have the right to protect their investment. I would argue on the other side of if it's your right as a property owner in this country to do whatever you want with your property. And that is not a, threatening message to anyone. It is, a free speech. And I wouldn't say that's a left or a right, issue at all.
Right.
It's just cowardly.
Yeah. Believe me, people in neighborhoods will go to bat over some of the silliest things.
Right.
This not being silly, but I know people in our neighborhood that have approached other neighbors about the length of their lawn and the fact that their garbage cans are out, a day longer than they should be. But usually, whatever that silly conversation may be, it's done face to face with a door knock and a conversation. And I think that's one of the things we're really arguing this morning is that whatever your issue may be, why do it with a letter? Why not start with a conversation?
Oh my gosh. Kim, good morning, says, how does this change the property value? It doesn't. It detours more racists from moving into the neighborhood. Keep the signs. Your strong voice is being heard. Aaron, did you say, Aaron says, let's educate these folks. Again, that part of that, though, starts with the conversation. If we can't talk to each other and we can't, say, this is what I believe. I mean, a lot of people these days, I'm going to go on the other side of this, say, you know what, I don't agree with BLM. I don't think that it's something that I want to support, but these are the reasons why. And people are afraid, they will say, to kind of speak their mind. And maybe it's not even about Black Lives Matter. Maybe it's about something else. But we do have kind of that cancel culture. And if you say the wrong thing, then you're out, you're gone, you're harassed as well. That's the problem I have. It's like whatever you think, we should be able to have some kind of dialogue and actually be open. But we're like this, we're kind of like mentally like
on
this.
Guard,
it's like I'm defending, I'm not really listening to you because I'm thinking I don't like what you're saying. It's making me feel internally, dissonant, and I can't really connect. I don't even know if we could ever solve this because we're never going to get to that conversation.
And that's what, if whoever sent this letter, if this is in fact a real letter, because I know some people are saying, we don't know who wrote this. She could have written it, to herself. We don't know. I'm just going on the assumption that, what she says is true, but we'll find out.
The fact of the matter is a lot of people are still connecting the dots between Black Lives Matter and destruction in downtown Portland.
I saw that, yeah. And she has a point. I think a lot of people are really disillusioned with the late night, violence and the arrests and crime that is happening against property and police officers downtown. I mean, we had somebody get stabbed. We've had, guns show up down there. And so either, people are equating just the message of Black Lives Matter to that. And maybe that's why I saw a comment, somebody saying maybe they don't like that sign because of that.
Well, Deborah, it was viewer Deborah who says, and her exact words were, the majority of citizens are not happy right now about the crime and destruction going on downtown. And I will absolutely agree with you. I don't know about majority. Unfortunately, we can't get a poll on everyone, but I know there are a lot of people that you're absolutely right who are not happy about the crime and destruction going on downtown and has gone on for months and months. Deborah continues to say that downtown situation may have a lot to do with those people who do not want to see these signs.
Well, even Black leaders here and faith leaders have come out and condemned the violence. And they've asked white allies, hey, if you really want to support us, do it the way we need you to, the way we want you to. And it's not with violence. It's not with throwing things at either the federal officers or Portland police.
Did you see, we were running a fabulous soundbite from a guy, I think from over the weekend, and we ran it last night a couple times in the story, and his name was Jamar, and he was down at the protest, He's black, and he was saying, he had almost this catchphrase of Subarus and canoes. Did you hear that soundbite?
No.
So he said, you know, all of these, you know, you white people who are coming down to these protests, will you know, go back to what he said, go back to West Lynn. He said, go back to Eastmoreland, and instead of doing this, he's like, teach me something. Teach me, you know, business skills. You know, help this Black Lives Matter movement in a different way, so I can make a good salary and have what he kept saying. And it made me laugh because it was just rhyming so perfectly as he was talking. He's like, I want a Subaru and a canoe. You know, you guys are out there enjoying the weekend and the sunshine with your family in a canoe, and then you put it on top of a Subaru with your $70,000 job. He's like, I want that, and I want to learn skills, but you know, the door needs to be opened for something like that. And it really kind of struck me. We played it a couple times last night. It was great.
Interesting. I think you can do both. I think you can protest peacefully. I think that you can educate people in your sphere of influence, and maybe educate's not the right word. Maybe it is, you know, just share. I don't know. There are lots of you know, thoughts rolling through my head about this, but we've got to be able to talk to each other. I just, part of me is just like, some days I'm hopeful.
Are you tired?
Some days I'm hopeful, and some days I am not.
Yeah, exactly. All right, you guys, thank you so much for weighing in with us. Stay tuned. We're going to try and talk to this family today, kind of get their side of things, maybe walk around the neighborhood and find out some more. So we always love all sides weighing in. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.